Oh, God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my review of Doctor Who Season 8, Episode 4. Listen, after my praise of Robots of Sherwood, I was starting to think the series was starting to go up again. But we got this in. A idea that would be brilliant on paper, but kind of floundered and yeah. Let's start by saying Monsters Under the Bed. That sounds familiar in Doctor Who. I think it's been done before. Where have I seen Monsters Under the Bed before? Oh yes, that's right. The episode with Madame de Pompadour and the Clockwork Men. The Clockwork Men were supposed to be the Monsters Under the Bed. And who wrote that again, Moffat? Oh yeah, you. So not only is this an idea that's been done before, it's been done by Moffat, adding on top of again the fact that this is yet another don't do something, don't look at them. Whatever you do, don't look at them. They don't like being looked at. It was just a bit... Another thing I didn't understand was why when they went back in time and met Rupert Pink, what was the point of calling him Rupert? Because I would understand if they said, "Oh, what's your name?" Rupert Pink, and it was like, well, is this Danny or isn't it not? But within seconds it was, "Oh, what's your name?" Rupert. I hate it, I want to change it. And so it was clear this is definitely Danny, and it was just a bit, well, what was the point of that? As we move along a little, we get after they hide under the bed saying, "Oh, there's nothing under here," and then something sits on the bed. Now there's a big confusion, or maybe not confusion, a big debate about whether or not this was a creature. I find it difficult to say alien because I was under the understanding that these would be here the entire time, so would it be an alien? Or is it just a child playing a prank? Now, if this was a child playing a prank, kids that age do this funny thing when they're trying to get something over another child or an adult, especially when they're hiding. They giggle, especially when they're so convincing that they start making anyone panic, or like they were when they were looking away saying, "I'm not going to look at you, go do what you want." It was kind of, they were giggling. Not to mention, as the creature walked past them, we just caught a glimpse of the corner of the camera where you could clearly see he was bald. Kids aren't bald. Maybe some poor fucker is, but I wouldn't put that as a thing. So I would say clearly this is a creature of some variety. So let's take the earlier scene when the Doctor goes on about what if there was a creature that was so perfectly designed at hiding. Why would a creature that was so perfectly designed for hiding do that? It makes no sense. It's spent his entire existence and all of his species hide, but I'm just going to sit on this kid's bed. Completely against what it's supposed to do. It makes no sense. I could understand if they were playing on the moving things sort of aspect, but no, he sat on the bed. It makes no sense whatsoever. Then, as the episode carries on, Clara decides to ask the Doctor to break the rules of time and space, which, going back, David Tennant taught us you don't do. There's big reasons why you don't do this. And go back to her date so she can fix it. Then, while this date is still continuing to fall apart, a man dressed in a spacesuit walks into a restaurant which no one at all apart from Clara notices. I'm sorry, but if I was sitting in a restaurant and someone walked in wearing an orange spacesuit with a yellow helmet so you can't see their face, I would be looking at that guy. I would be going, what the fuck? Is this a birthday party? Wait, no, there's no kids about. This is a restaurant. This isn't a kid's restaurant. No, why is he there? What is this? Granted, I wouldn't necessarily think something bad, but I would be staring. I wouldn't be continuing eating my meals and not mentioning the guy in the spacesuit. It just, why? especially while he walks through the kitchen as well, when one of the members of staff say, hey, you can't just walk through the kitchen, it's staff only. So it's like, what? It made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Next, the spaceman walks into the TARDIS, and we're supposed to assume that this is the Doctor. He removes the helmet, and there's Danny Pink, but only he's not Danny Pink, he's Awesome Pink. And the Doctor says, hey, this is Awesome Pink. Do you recognize him? Is he from your future? How would she know? This is her future she's talking about. You haven't seen the future yet. Yes, he's a spitting image of Danny Pink. But still, the Doctor didn't know that. And children don't look exactly like their parents or their grandparents. Yes, there's similarities. They can look very, very much like them, but they're not exactly the same. So if I was a Doctor, I wouldn't automatically assume that she would recognize someone from her future. So why would he ask that? Then they go into the future and take Awesome Pink with them, which again I don't understand. He said he was going to take him back home. Well, why didn't he just drop him back home and then go to the end of the universe? Because Awesome didn't need to be there. Yes, the Doctor wanted to see what was at the end of the universe, to see what it was that was hiding, which I assume will come at a future point. I have a suspicion it's got something to do with the Time Lords, but that's just an assumption and I don't even particularly care because, as I said, this episode makes no sense. But then, of course, doing this, coming to see what was there, the Doctor gets bumped on the head and passes out. So Clara uses the DNA thing to travel back in time, and where does she end up going? She goes to a barn where the Doctor as a child used to go and hide when he was crying, because she is important, damn it. You will remember her. She is one of the most important companions ever. Even though she's probably one of the worst, I'm beginning to think that she's worse than Martha, and I hated Martha, mainly because the actress couldn't act. But I'm beginning to dislike Clara a little more. But anyway, she hides under the bed as the two adults come in to reveal the fact that this kid is a Time Lord, and it's pretty obvious it's the Doctor. Then they go, and the child Doctor goes and sits up, and Clara, in her panic state for some unknown reason, because all he done was sit up, decides it'd be a good idea to grab his leg. Now, this whole episode, they're trying to find the thing that is grabbing the people's legs, but for some unknown reason, she grabs it. And then she says, oh, you're dreaming. Ooh, you're dreaming. Yeah, you are. And of course, for some reason, the Doctor believes that. And then she comes up and says, hey, listen, and tells him a big pile of bullshit, which makes no sense whatsoever, turning the Doctor into the Doctor. So of course she's important. She's not only the one that made the Doctor choose the TARDIS he did, but now she's set him on the path of being the Doctor. Really? She's not that important. Stop trying to make her that important. After this is finished and she's left, and I'm beginning to hope that the rumours of this being her last season is true, I don't want her to be everything for the Doctor. It's Rose didn't have to be, Martha didn't have to be, Donna didn't have to be, Amy didn't have to be, so why does Clara have to be? It's too much. And of course we take a flashback to the 50th, where we find out, yes, this is the barn that the War Doctor went to set up the moment. But we didn't need that. It would have been enough for fanboys to see the barn and make the connection. Moffat has this tendency to say things that need a bit more explaining. He doesn't, and he says, hey, you're cleverer, you could put the pieces together, but there isn't enough pieces to put together to see the picture. But things that there are plenty of pieces, he says, no, this is exactly what it is. And in my opinion, he gets confused and doesn't know what needs more information and what doesn't. It's just, it would have been enough to be a theory, and it would have been, yeah, is this the barn? it makes sense. But another thing that people are getting rage on is how did the TARDIS get to Gallifrey? It's in a time lock. I didn't even think about this while watching the episode, but after hearing this thing, I just think, well, maybe it's not Gallifrey. Yes, this is them training Time Lords, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's on Gallifrey. But that's just something I took out of it. I guess a lot of these things that I'm raging about, saying it makes no sense, can be explained away in a similar sort of way, but I can't think of it. But I just took it as not being Gallifrey. Not to mention, with this being the same barn, 2 TARDISes after the Time War, so that would be David Tennant's and Matt Smith's, both went back to that place during the 50th. So if it wasn't Gallifrey, that would make sense. So, hey, I don't think it was ever actually said in that episode that it was Gallifrey. So, hey, that's just what I took. So, as you can tell by my ranting, this actually is an episode I didn't like too much. It made absolutely no sense whatsoever to me. I've watched it, 3 times now? Can't understand anything. It was an interesting concept, but it's been done before by Moffat himself. So, yeah, I give this episode a 4 out of 10, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this rant. If you have, like, favourite, subscribe, comment if you have anything to add. I am the Food. Thanks for listening.